Imagine a glittering city on the edge of the Arabian Sea, palaces of gold, wide avenues, harbors filled with ships from distant lands, a city ruled by a legendary king, and then one night it all vanishes beneath the waves. Indian scriptures say this place was Dwarka, the kingdom of Lord Krishna. For centuries it was dismissed as myth, a story for temples and festivals, not history books. But then divers off the coast of Gujarat started finding stone walls, steps, and what looked like ancient jetties all lying deep under the sea. So what exactly is going on here? Is Dwarka just a beautiful legend, or did the ocean really swallow a real city? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll be able to decide for yourself. To understand why Dwarka fascinates so many people, we must begin not underwater, but in ancient stories. According to Hindu tradition, Dwarka was the kingdom of Krishna, an incarnation of Vishnu. The name itself comes from Dwar, gate, and city, the city of gates. Texts like the Mahabharata, the Harivamsa, and the Bhagavata Purana describe Dwarka as a fortified coastal city with massive walls and watchtowers, grand palaces inlaid with gold, silver, and precious stones, and multiple harbors where ships came and went from across the known world. Krishna is said to have moved his capital here from Mathura to protect his people, building an advanced, well-planned city by the sea. But the most dramatic part of the story comes at the end. After the great war of Kurukshetra, the Yadava clan falls into internal conflict. Krishna's time on earth is ending, and then, as the legend goes, a curse unfolds, chaos descends, and Dwarka's fate is sealed. The scriptures describe the scene almost like a disaster movie. The sea rises, waves crash into the coast, buildings crumble, and slowly the entire city is swallowed by the ocean, leaving only the name behind. For thousands of years, Dwarka existed in people's minds as a mythic city like Atlantis, a symbol of divine glory and sudden destruction. But then, humans did what we always do. We went looking. Fast forward to the modern world. On the western coast of India, in the state of Gujarat, there is a real place called Dwarka. It's a busy pilgrimage town, home to the famous Dwarkadish temple, where Krishna is worshipped as the king of Dwarka. For a long time, people assumed the modern town was simply named after the legendary city. But some archaeologists began to wonder, what if this place wasn't just named after the myth? What if it was built on top of an older city? In the late 20th century, Indian archaeologists started excavating around Dwarka and its nearby island, Bet Dwarka. They found ancient stone structures, old potsherds, and artifacts, and signs that this coastline had been occupied for thousands of years. But a real shock came when the teams went into the sea. Using boats, sonar, and divers, they began to survey the seabed just off the coast. That's when Dwarka stopped being just a temple town and started to look like a mystery. Under the blue-green water, divers reported seeing things that didn't look natural. They found rectangular stone blocks arranged in lines, as if forming walls or platform step-like features, almost like the remains of a ghat or staircase leading into the water structures that resembled piers or jetties, the kind you'd expect in an ancient port city. Some stones had holes that may have been used for wooden beams or mooring boats. Tools and pottery recovered nearby suggested human activity in this coastal zone long ago. On maps and sonar images, parts of the seabed look like grid patterns, hinting, at least to some researchers, at the outlines of planned constructions. To many people, this was electrifying, a legendary city described as coastal and fortified, a real modern town with the same name, and now what looked like the remains of an ancient port lying underwater right next to it. Was this the Lost City? Some archaeologists propose that ancient Dwarka might have been a thriving port that later sank due to coastal erosion, changes in sea level, or tectonic activity. Over time, new settlements formed further inland, eventually becoming the Dwarka we see today. But if that sounds neat and tidy, don't get too comfortable, because this is where the controversy explodes. The biggest question isn't just Was there a city here? How old was it? Some early studies suggested that parts of the underwater structures near Dwarka and in the nearby Gulf of Khambhat could be several thousand years old. At one point, there were claims that artifacts, like a piece of carbon-dated wood, might point to human activity in this area as far back as 7,000, 9,000 years ago. For many people, this sounded like proof that Dwarka was incredibly ancient, perhaps older than or comparable to the Indus Valley civilization, and possibly matching traditional timelines of Krishna's era from religious texts. But here's where the scientific debate really heats up. Many archaeologists and geologists raised serious doubts. Underwater environments are messy. Objects can be moved, redeposited, or mixed by currents. A single piece of ancient wood doesn't automatically prove a planned city at that exact spot. Some structures could be natural formations that look artificial at first glance, and different dating methods can give conflicting results. Some researchers argue that, yes, the region shows signs of ancient human occupation and coastal settlements, but connecting these directly to Krishna's Dwarka from scripture is not yet proven. Others feel that mainstream academia is too cautious, or even biased, when dealing with evidence that might support old textual traditions. And somewhere in between those extremes are careful scientists saying, we need more data, we need more dives. So today, Dwarka sits in this strange space. There are underwater structures and artifacts. There was an ancient port and settlement in this coastal area. But exactly how old it is, and whether it can be directly tied to the mythic Dwarka of Krishna, is still an open question. But maybe we're asking the wrong question. Instead of, is Krishna's Dwarka 100% proved or disproved? We can ask, could a real ancient city have inspired the legend? All around the world, coastal cities have drowned over time. Sea levels have risen and fallen rivers have changed course. Earthquakes and erosion have reshaped shorelines. In India, too, there is evidence that parts of the coast have submerged gradually over thousands of years. So imagine this. An ancient port city stands on the edge of the sea. It thrives on trade. It becomes powerful. Stories about its ruler, its wealth, and its fall grow with every generation. Then, slowly, or perhaps during a few catastrophic storms, large parts of that city are swallowed by the ocean. For the people who survived, how would that feel? Like the end of an age, like divine judgment, like a story that must be told and retold until it becomes a sacred epic. Dwarka might be a real ancient city, now broken and scattered under the sea, a mythic city of gold and miracles, or, most likely, a fusion of both memory, geology, and faith woven together over millennia. So, did the sea really swallow Krishna's golden city? We have ancient texts describing a coastal fortress city that vanished beneath the waves, a real town called Dwarka, still a vibrant pilgrimage site today, underwater ruins and artifacts that prove humans once lived and built here, and that the sea has claimed some of their work. But we also have conflicting dates, heated debates among archaeologists, and no single definitive piece of evidence that says, this is Krishna's Dwarka. Maybe we're standing at the shoreline between myth and history, staring into the water, just like those divers. So, tell me in the comments, do you think a real city inspired the legend of Dwarka? Or is this a case of us trying to force myth into the mold of history? If you enjoyed this dive into lost history, hit like, subscribe to Chronicle Crafter, and share this video with someone who loves mysterious stories the textbooks don't fully explain. Until next time, keep questioning, because sometimes the past isn't lost. It's just waiting under the waves.